This paper draws from the field of memory and diaspora studies and focuses specifically on children's memory over time and the intergenerational transmission of memory. It is a case study of the post-World War II Croatian diaspora in Argentina that fled the country after the defeat and found its refuge overseas. The study forms part of my ongoing research on the Croatian post-World War II immigrant community in Argentina. And while my previous work was mostly focused on the political activity and commemorative practices of the Croatian diaspora over time, this paper is focused on the specificities of children's memory. In Holocaust research, there is a distinction between the adults and the so-called generation 1.5, meaning the child survivors, because their memories are different. It is therefore essential to analyze how the 1.5 generation of Croatian diaspora narrated their childhood memory of exile, how they were marked by their own trauma and by the trauma of their community. The purpose of this study is to delve into the memories of child survivors who are now elderly people and detect the continuities and discontinuities in the intergenerational transmission of memory. I studied personal testimonies gathered through 15 semi-structured interviews and informal conversations, complemented with the 1.5 generation members' written memoirs of their childhood and exile, whether in books authored by themselves, testimonies in books and journals, speeches given at certain occasions, or posts on their Facebook walls. The memories of the 1.5 generation, the children, were not present in the collective narrative of the Croatian emigre community in Argentina. So this research aimed to analyze how the exile affected their lives and how they were impacted by their parents' decisions, although conditioned by extreme circumstances. The research shows that even 70 years later, their authentic childhood memories are alive and emotional, whether sad or happy, and most of them show genuine reactions and emotions to personal memories. The most traumatic moment for children was the moment of exile in itself and their refugee experience, where they do not remember due to their age, or when narrating the history of their family, they resort to and appropriate their parents' memory as if it were their own. Thus, child memories, although diverging, are inseparable from their parents and those of their community, especially when it comes to making a rational and intellectual sense of their exile experience. So the key findings of the research show that child memories are not exclusively personal or biographical, but overlap with family and collective memories of the emigre community, especially when it comes to make sense of their exile experience, even 7 decades later. Even though the majority felt uprooted from Croatia and accepted Argentina as their home, in order to make sense of their personal and family suffering, they merged their community history with official history and justified the reasons for their parents' struggle without any critical questioning of their parents' role in the Second World War. This subsequently gives way to a monolithic narrative that is perpetuated through generations.